Namaskar viewers, hello and welcome to Sansad TV. I am Tina Jha, you're watching Perspective. The political battle lines are drawn in Bihar with the Election Commission announcing dates for the state assembly polls. Voting will take place in two phases on the 6th of November across 121 constituencies and 11th of November for the remaining 122. Counting is scheduled for the 14th of November. So over 7.42 crore voters are eligible to cast their ballots, including 14,000 centenarians. To ensure transparency, all 90,712 polling stations will have webcasting facilities with an average of 818 voters per booth. For the first time, each of Bihar's 243 constituencies will have a dedicated general observer and every district will have a police observer. A voter helpline 1950 has also been launched for election-related queries. Now, beyond the logistics, the real contest lies in Bihar's complex social and political fabric. So the state's 13 crore population is sharply divided along caste lines. The EBCs, the extremely backward classes, constitute 36% of the population, the OBCs 27%, the scheduled caste 19.6%, the scheduled tribes about 1.7%, and general category around 15%. The ruling NDA, which comprises of the BJP, JDU, LJP Ramvilas and the HAM, bank on diverse social bases. Nitish Kumar's JDU draws strength from the EBCs, the BJP from the upper caste and non-Yadav OBCs, LJP from the Dalits, mainly the Paswan community, and the HAM from the Musahar Dalits. While the opposition Mahagathbandhan, led by the RJD, Congress, VIP and the left parties, they count on the Muslim population, which comprises about 17.7%, and the Yadav population about 14.3%, as they are their traditional backbone. The VIP appeals particularly to the Kushwahas, while the Congress taps into segments of the OBCs, the upper castes, and also the urban voters. Adding to the mix are Asaduddin Owaisi's AIMIM, which holds sway in the Seemanchal region, and the new entrant Prashant Kishor, who is contesting on all 243 seats, aiming to disrupt traditional equations in Bihar. So to decode what's at stake for each player and how caste arithmetic could shape this crucial contest, we are joined by three guests. With me in the studio is Mr. Kumar Rakesh. He's a senior journalist. Mr. Rakesh, thank you for your time. Welcome to Sansad TV. Joining us virtually are two more guests, Professor Manoj Sinha, Principal, Aryabhat College, University of Delhi, and Dr. Sunil Chaudhary, Professor of Political Science, University of Delhi. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on the program. Welcome to Sansad TV. So let me begin the conversation with you, Mr. Rakesh. Tell us about what's the mood on the ground this time. Are the people of Bihar looking for continuity, or there is a mood for change?
Oh, that's difficult to say that if they are looking for continuity or they are in mood for a change. But the last elections that were held in Bihar were in 2024 when Lok Sabha elections were held. And we saw that despite some erosion of votes in NDA vote share, they still won 30 out of 40 seats. And the opposition won 9 and one independent, Papu Yadav, who also belongs to the opposition camp. Yeah. So if we go by the example of last election, and we saw some assembly elections that happened after 2024, like in Haryana, Maharashtra, where NDA had not fared well in Lok Sabha, but still repaired the damage and did well in assembly. So I will say right now, going by their good performance in Lok Sabha, the NDA has the advantage in terms of their social coalition. I think it's a more diverse voting bloc compared to RJD. And unlike the last time, Chirag Paswan is very much in the NDA camp. And though they have lost Vikashil Insan party to RJD-led alliance, but I still think that on paper, NDA alliance is more cohesive and more diverse and a bigger voting bloc.
Seat sharing is something on which the talks currently are underway. So which party will contest and how many seats is something that we will know in the days to come, given now that the election dates have been announced. But Professor Chaudhary, coming now to you to understand particularly the issues that are riding the elections in Bihar, which is a state where caste arithmetic plays a crucial role. So have the political parties managed to make the election all about governance and development, and particularly the NDA has it managed to, drive home the issue of a double-engine sarkar, or is it again back to the caste arithmetic in the state?
The social scientists usually believe that the castes are not monolithic. So the primordial identities emanating from the caste, and the parties claim that they are the custodian of specific caste or the subcaste. But I think over the years, one could see that developmental discourses have actually overtaken or seem to be overtaking the primordial identities. So from that perspective, one could see that development governance are going to, strike great roots among the voters in Bihar. Bihar is not only different from rest of the states in terms of electoral democracy, but it is also distinct in the sense because the voters in Bihar, I would say now the voters could be categorized under two systems, the X factors and the Y factor. I would still say that the X factors, the voters who may have a very decisive impact on the electoral constituencies in the days to come would be the migrant voters, and one could see that how migrant voters in Bihar constituting nearly more than 2 crore voters. Second important X factor would be the Muslim voters, constituting around 18% of the population and significantly populating the Seemanchal region. And third, the Mahila voters. Mahilas are going to be the game changers in the current elections. So, I mean, these X factors may have broader impact and they cut across the caste. When I say the Y factors, the two important Y factors could be seen. One is Jan Swaraj Party, led by Prashant Kishor ji. So Prashant Kishor ji could be the game changer in the sense because unlike 2020 elections, Prashant Kishor ji is a good psephologist and he knows how to make vote and voters towards this political organization. And secondly, even the Jan Shakti Janata Dal led by the Yadav group. Mm-hmm. So from that perspective, I would say that this time the caste may be important but may not have edge on the developmental discourse and governance which are going to take shape the current elections in Bihar.
Okay, let's hear from Professor Sinha about his perspective and how he assesses the upcoming election in Bihar. Professor, it's said about Bihar ki jati jati nahi hai, and of course caste plays a very, very important role in the state. Tell us about how crucial will the caste arithmetic be this time, particularly given the assertion of the EBCs and the non-Yadav OBCs that the BJP has tried to woo.
Yeah, Tina, the Jati has not gone away from Bihar elections and will not go for some time more. That's my expectation. But I would not like to overemphasize on that factor at this moment. You know, one has to look at other social formations, and the hints have already come from whatever Rakesh ji and my friend Sunil have said here. And those are, what are the other factors that are going to come? Women being very significant for me, not that last time they were not. Perhaps prohibition was one reason that women, thought of Nitish Kumar as a leader who could give them some respite at their home front and family front. I see it as a continuity in this election. I mean, I do not see that the women as a group have found any alternatives over there. That's one. Mm-hmm. The other is, I would like to watch how the youth vote in Bihar. The youth are either going to go in a big way to Prashant Kishor, and the question will be which youth is going his way. If it is a mix of everything that we are talking about in terms of caste only, which is significant in its own way, but how much of each caste youth is going to shift away from there will be a huge question. People are already talking about that it is a possibility that Prashant Kishor is going to attract mostly the upper caste, etc., etc. I do not see it that way. Because remember, across the caste, the well-to-do families, the ones which are moving up the ladder of society into middle classes and higher middle classes, even the lower caste as well as the middle caste are behaving in the same fashion as the upper caste youth used to behave. And therefore, I see it as a wholesome shift of youth towards that. And what is the kind of impact it is going to make? The third factor for me, an important one, is that this time Chirag Paswan is well and truly home. with the NDA. And that is going to make my estimations, it's going to make a 3 to 5% of difference over there. You know, coming from the, not only the Paswan community, but allied communities throughout the ST block of voters over there.
Absolutely,
So
and given his party's performance in the Lok Sabha elections last year as well.
That's right. So having watched that, you can see that he's got that transferable votes. You know, that's very important. I mean, some people do tend to attract votes to themselves, but they can't transfer it to others. I mean, if somebody asked me, Asaduddin Owaisi Sahab will be able to take Muslim votes in the Seemanchal region and, many other regions that he'll put up candidates over there. Even in the first phase, when the central Bihar, kind of across the Ganga and, on the other side of Ganga, on the south side, are all going to be there in the fray. He can make a dent, but I doubt on his capacity to transfer votes. Okay, I mean, that will probably not happen. So I'm talking in that term, that Chirag Paswan is going to take actually voters along, and that will make a significant difference on the results this time. So all in all, if you ask me to be a Jyotishi, I'll say that NDA has an edge over others, and that there I'll end the first round.
Okay, that's an interesting analysis. Taking on from what you said, particularly about which way the youth voters will swing, Mr. Rakesh, what is your analysis of the impact that Mr. Prashant Kishor will make? Because I recall initially when he, announced his party and the kind of campaign that he held across the state, he drew a lot of youth sentiment. Do you think he will be a serious disruptor, if not kingmaker?
He will certainly be a disruptor, and Prashant Kishor has his own strength. He's from Bihar. He's seen as a self-made man, a Bihari who went outside, worked with different political parties, different politicians, and worked successfully, got them victories. He has tried to set an agenda in Bihar which is caste neutral. He might be himself a Brahmin, but his narrative is not about caste. He has been speaking about substantive matters. But Bihar is not Delhi, that overnight or a new party. If you go by the electoral history of Bihar, it's very difficult for a new party to make major gains in the first election. Even when Mr. Nitish Kumar broke away from Janata Dal, formed his own party, he was already a much recognized leader. So Bihar doesn't have a history of a brand new political party led by a brand new leader making impressive gains in the first election. But I will argue that he will make an impact. He will draw votes from different sections of society. But will it be enough to seriously damage one of the alliances? And there is a view that he will draw more support from the traditional voters who have been with NDA than, say, RJD-led alliance. So it remains to be seen that how much damage he can inflict on likely NDA. Because I will say that in the first election, he will certainly make an impact. But I won't go as far as to suggest that it will be enough to make him a very serious player in these elections. Okay.
Professor Chaudhary, coming to the impact that the new entrant is going to make, because he is a strategist turned politician, and he knows both the alliances extremely well. He's worked with leaders across parties. The second is he's been able to draw a lot of youth sentiment in the last few months that he's campaigned. He's picked up issues that actually relate to the youth, not just within the state, but those who have migrated for education and job purposes as well. So he's given the youth a purpose to look at a leader in him. But again, because he himself comes from an upper caste, that has been played out by leaders of the Mahagathbandhan. Who do you see the new entrant, the Jan Swaraj party, damaging more, the NDA or the Mahagathbandhan? And a second part of the question, because based on what's been already discussed, anti-incumbency is of course an important issue this time as well. But the question is, has the Mahagathbandhan been able to consolidate itself as a credible alternative to the people of Bihar?
notwithstanding the initial differences among the, say, the constituents, it is both within the NDA and the Mahagathbandhan. One could see in terms of the constituencies, the contests, and even the CM's face. But keeping all these differences aside, because they are going to be sorted out in the days to come, the most important factor, which I think may going to influence the electoral verdict in the two phases of elections. Prashant Kishor is a good cephalogist, like Yogendra Yadav ji in Delhi. But you see, a cephalogist converting the voters in terms of the verdict depends upon a strong organizational structure. And I believe that Jan Swaraj Party doesn't have a very strong organizational structure across Bihar. Prashant Kishor ji has been campaigning for past, say, few months very rigorously, very ferociously among the voters, and may be very, very popular. But in terms of his appearance as delivering governance, if the party gets good number of seats, that is difficult to be stated at this juncture. And I believe voters may not vote for Jan Swaraj Party, may not give that much comfortable majority, which may bring Jan Swaraj Party to the position of power. But yes, it's going to dent some votes, both the Mahagathbandhan and NDA, because some voters, some young voters, and one could see that out of 7.40 crore voters, 50%, around 3.7 crore voters are the youth voters. So some of the youth might go towards Jan Swaraj Party, but it is difficult to be stated at this juncture because BJP has also been trying to just woo all these young voters, and these young voters actually been the way the NDA has come out in terms of various developmental schemes connecting with the youth in past couple of weeks. That shows that these youth actually would go back with NDA, not with Jan Swaraj Party.
And especially when you have a leader of the stature of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who has the ability to, perhaps woo all the fence sitters by addressing a couple of rallies in their constituencies. Professor Sinha, how impactful is the role of the Prime Minister going to be? He is NDA's star campaigner. How do you see him influencing the outcome, particularly among the female and the youth voters who will be very decisive in the results?
Oh, the Prime Minister in an electoral battle is the tadka that comes after the rest of the food is served. I mean, he's still got a lot of influence over people. He's able to convince people. He's got a persona which has not faded yet. I mean, besides the Lok Sabha setbacks to some extent of losing the absolute majority where BJP was able to reach, etc., etc. Having said that, his a power to convince people about the developmental agenda that he's carrying, and the partnership with Nitish. I mean, in terms of Nitish may be slightly faded and jaded in terms of when he had begun as chief minister. But in combination, they still keep that edge over the alternatives that are presented over there. You see, I mean, as an alternative, the Congress and the RJD combined, along with the other minor parties, they are just not able to convince people, even though they might want to support them. They are not able to convince them that the kind of development that Bihar needs will be brought by them. So it is actually the Prime Minister that makes a huge difference as soon as alternatives come. There are people who are discussing that even the local BJP, local JDU, they're not providing good leadership, second or the third row of leadership that might have come, etc., etc. But that is the difference that the Prime Minister is able to provide over there, and bring about that tilt of people towards them. Other factors, as Professor Sunil was saying, that the impact that Prashant Kishor is going to be making in the election is going to be across the parties. I mean, that's the way I also see it, that, it's going to be more or less across the party. And this time, Prashant Kishor, I don't see him winning at all. I mean, he's not there for the winning part. And therefore, the danger is that at the last moment, he might come out croppers in relation to the expectations we are building around him. I mean, there is a chance. I'm not saying that that will happen. Until the votes are polled and the boxes are closed, you don't know, I mean, exactly what will happen. But what the suspicion I have is that he may not be able to convert the kind of support he has to votes, actual votes. And therefore, the person of the Prime Minister and the current CM will probably carry the NDA through. That's the way I see it.
Okay, but Rakeshji, what about the RJD? What is at stake for Tejasvi Yadav? He himself has tried to, send out a youthful appeal, tried to reach out to the youngsters through social media in numerous ways. But what do you think is at stake for the youngster who's served as Deputy Chief Minister and who managed to, lead his party as the single largest party in the last elections?
See, if you ask me, I think there is more at stake for opposition in this election than the NDA. NDA has been on a winning spree. They can live with one defeat. But opposition, which is increasingly staring at electoral irrelevance, losing one state after another. If they lose again in Bihar, and RJD and Congress made SIR into a big issue. But now we are seeing that the chatter about SIR has gone down after the exercise got over. So it doesn't look like a very big electoral issue as of now. So if RJD loses again, I think then after 2005, they have been losing all elections. And it will just suggest that they are unable to get rid of the baggage of the so-called misgovernance, jungle laws that their 15-year rule in Bihar between 1990 and 2005 has brought to them. And another loss in a Hindi heartland state for opposition will be a big setback. And I think, as we have already seen in Haryana, in Maharashtra, that the setback BJP suffered in Lok Sabha elections is now history. And if NDA does very well in Bihar, then it's just like opposition has this impression that opposition has got totally disconnected from the ground in terms of the issues they are raising, in terms of the manner in which they are trying to impress upon the voters. It will just prove this point that opposition is increasingly becoming irrelevant in terms of popular politics, despite all the noises they make, all the headlines they grab. But when it comes to the real elections, the real deal, when people come to vote, they are ignoring them. And it will be a big setback for RJD and Congress if they lose, and if they lose badly. Like last time they also lost, but it was a very close call. If this time they lose badly, like they lost in Haryana and Maharashtra, I think it will be back to drawing board for them.
Another aspect and another factor that I would like to speak with you about, Professor Chaudhary, is the Nitish Kumar factor. So over the last few decades, clearly he's provided credible leadership, no matter which alliance has been in power. But and even now he enjoys loyal support, at least from the EBCs, which form about 36% of the population. 26% of the non-Muslim EBCs stand solidly firm behind the JDU because of Nitish Kumar. How do you look at the face as Chief Minister in the upcoming Bihar elections for the NDA? Do you see them continuing with Nitish Kumar, or how would you say the future looks like for the Chief Minister if they win, and if he continues to be the Chief Minister? Perhaps he will be the longest serving Chief Minister of the state.
Yeah, it is not only experience which Nitish Kumar ji has been with NDA, but also his impeccable leadership in terms of very, noble, face, and without any level of corruption charges against him during his entire period of chief ministership. What is more important for me to just share with you is that despite initial differences among the constituents of NDA, there is unanimity as far as the CM phase is concerned within NDA. So one could see that this consensus or this cohesion would actually work for NDA in elections. Secondly, I would say that how the Bihar electors are different from rest of the electors in India is that Bihar electors are silent voters. They are very vocal. They are very credible, and I think they are very, very visible. So once they decide, I think they cannot move beyond it. So when we say the silent voters, it means the youth voters constituting around 50% of the population would say that their impact would be more decisive without being expressive. So at this stage, they appear to be moving towards governance and developmental agenda of NDA in terms of its cohesion. I think very small differences in terms of number of seats which may just come up, whether it is HAM or Chirag Paswan ji or even Kushwahas ji. I think these are going to be sorted out. But it is difficult to see whether Mahagathbandhan would be able to sort out the differences, specifically differences between, say, Congress and RJD, between Rahul Gandhi ji and Tejasvi Yadav ji. So that may bring about some disruptions as far as their electoral forecast is concerned. But from that perspective, I think NDA, all the constituents among NDAs, all the 5 constituents, they are cohesive constituents and they are one and unanimous as far as their chief ministerial face is concerned. BJP has stated very repeatedly that it is contesting elections under the leadership of Nitish Kumar ji.
Okay, Professor Joshi, close the show for us. One closing comment from you on how do you, of course, foresee the results. That's something that will that we will know on the 14th. But right now, lots of speculations, and especially taking into account also the fact that the NDA, of course, has an edge. But there is this fatigue aspect also being associated with the current chief minister because of his recent public appearances, also reports about his health. Do you see the BJP sort of, once the results are declared, they becoming or they coming up with a new face as the chief minister of Bihar to lead the state?
If you ask me to predict, I'll say that this is after the NDA wins the election, probably Nitish Kumar ji will not complete the whole term. I mean, there will be a change of some kind in between, even if he starts off as the chief minister now. I mean, that's the kind of prediction roughly that I'll make right now. But picking up what Rakesh ji was saying from there, you see, in Bihar, the opposition, where did it lose the plot? The plot was lost when it did not raise issues that would have made a difference there. I mean, Bihar is starved of development. So all the voters there are looking for jobs, for, more of development. And so if the critique had been taken up over there, it would have made a lot of impact on the minds of the voter. And as Sunilji was saying, that they are very quiet. I mean, they debate a lot of politics, but which way they are going to vote is only known when they actually go to the booth over there. So, and what are the issues that the opposition picked up? Vote chori. The other was Sir. And, these are non-issues, I'm telling you, in Bihar. I mean, I voted in Bihar when I was 13 years old in 1977. The most common discussion in a typical Bihar election, let's say 15 years back, would have been कि हमको वोट छापना है, वोट छापने का वहां पर ठेका लेना है, फला and ढिमकाना, all the rest of it, which actually meant booth capturing. And so with the paper ballot, etc., the voting was very different. And if others don't know, the rest of the country may or may not be aware of everything that went on. But all Bihar voters are, familiar with that, except for perhaps the new voters who are coming in now, etc.
In that case, Professor, I think we should be extremely proud that the SIR happened first in Bihar before the nationwide SIR, and the kind of impact that it is going to have on the elections this time. It clearly reflects, and I mean, as a Bihari, I would also hope that the politics in that state shift from politics of caste to politics of development, and we would be extremely happy talking about and seeing that development in our state back home. Time allows us to take up only that much on the program, gentlemen. Thank you once again for joining us on this edition of Perspective, sharing your thoughts with us and our viewers. To you viewers, thank you very much for your time as well.
Namaskar.